We're all warmed up. We're all warmed up now. That's what it is. I want the boom. Right. So talking to Buddy. Oh, good. So, talking to Buddy here, and we were talking about the state of the world, and mentioned it's difficult for people to stay focused, and so I'm trying to stay focused here and looking at a series of papers. I want to tell people a little bit about the papers that are upcoming. I'm still working on the Batman nonfiction. It is rated R, so it's not for children. It's a serious and brutal Batman story that is relevant to what we're going through. And as a species, it covers transhumanism, it covers the human flesh industry, all that kind of stuff. Then I'm putting out the show I did last night with Greg J. We covered the paradigm shift comparison video. That has to do with the latest Thunderbolt project. Let's see here. The Hajime paper. So hollow expanding growing electromagnetic Earth finally is going to get its own paper. It's lived as a hypothesis in the PIMS paper. There is a PIMS 2 paper going to be coming out, as well as a part 2 to Ashes of Atlantis. So, of course, Unboxing Atlantis was the first one, and there's Ashes of Atlantis part 1, where I debunk the Rishat Formation of Atlantis. This one's going to cover Zamora. It's going to be mostly debunking the Carolina Bays as ice chunks hitting the ground. And then here we got a MEMS paper, change theory, going over the E, both plasmaglyphically, historically, as well as the concept in the MEMS and physical force in our lives. Then a nice, quote, fun one here, War, the Anti-MEMS versus Dual-Layer Economics. Listen to the subtitle. Can the war economy save humanity from climate collapse like the New World Order and WEF believe? Dual-layer economics as a spacer means to save humanity from itself without massive depopulation. And then for the and, I'm using a plasmaglyph symbol. A brief economic and strategy security analysis of the real costs of the abortion genocide, as well as update on the human flesh industry. So that's going to be a real nice, fun one. Nice. I'm going to save that one for a dark wave. Let's see, I already covered the actual. Okay, so here I'm going to do one that's going to be another op-ed, peer review cults and skepticism. Like, what is real skepticism? It'll be a MEMS paper as well. But it'll be an op-ed. And then this one, a follow-up to the previous MEMS Ether Flow paper. This one will be Ether Flow Business Circuits, which I know you love talking about circuits, and Fortune. Oh, yeah. And finally, another op-ed, Giza Power Plant, not a matter of opinion. Real straightforward, talking about the Giza Power Plant. So that's the lineup for the spring. Kind of excited about it, although, as we were talking about, it's going to be a little difficult right now, though, to, stay centered and balanced when you're getting hit by these, well, first of all, by the etheric tsunami itself, which we were talking about on this show would be arriving in February, and it did with the convoy first, and then rolled right on into the new Cold War started to heat up and turn into World War. Of course, still in World War 3.0. Have you been experiencing? A lot of people have been talking about it. Have you been experiencing internet outages, like problems with your internet?
Not too much. I think a lot of experiments happened around here during storms. They blamed it on the storms. There was a bunch of weird shit going on during the storms last summer and fall. But yeah, I haven't experienced anything particularly weird. I believe I heard there's threats now because their internet was shut down, probably by us in Israel or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
Combination of whatever. And
the war machine is hot at work, which is why the first of all, my Batman story, and then the war economy paper. Yeah, go ahead.
Any minute they could turn off the power in any district from any place to any place. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. And the war economy. I'm going to be discussing it now. What came up immediately as soon as I started doing the war economy. You know what? I'm going to put a little background on here. I'm going to show people while I'm working on a product that was a general, what do you call strategy series product, and it ends up being for this paper, and right away a patient comes in and clues me in to these things called deep underground military bases, which does come with its whole host of alien hypotheses, including involvement in the human industry and all the different things. So maybe that's directly, maybe it's not. It's not exactly clear to me. So I'm going to open up the new Google map that I'm working on, and keep working on it while we're talking here. Is my screen showing up on yours?
Yeah, I got it.
Sometimes it don't. Sometimes it doesn't immediately show up.
Right.
Right. So what I'm doing here for the audience to see is I'm building a map of the the U.S. empire. This is where it currently stands. I've got to get all the these are ranges. A lot of what you see here are ranges, and then down here these are military bases. And if I zoom in and if I turn off the ranges because there's so many of them, you can see the actual bases, and I've got them color coordinated based on their affiliation: Army, Navy, Air Force, etc. And then I'm going to add black sites, as many black sites as I can find. I'll get on the deep underground military bases.
Like black operations, black sites.
I'm going to try and get black sites on there. I'm going to try and get as many missile silos on. I want people to understand this is the largest empire that's ever existed. All of humanity. It's not American. It is only using our name. It's a corporation, and this corporation has been operating ever since the end of the when the Rothschilds took over. But
can I ask a question here? So
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, but I have a question. I think that I think about this kind of stuff a lot. Just being globally minded, more universally minded, or fractal minded with a larger global scope on things. I often thought of Britain or British colonialism being one of the largest, like the maybe British American Empire is the largest. But wait one second. I'd also love to see a map of the Catholic Church like this across the world. That would be
yeah. Okay. Well, you mean like a non-governmental empire, or treating it as a post-Holy Roman Empire? Well, that would be a good. One of the things that the patient also mentioned, he's a veteran, aside from the deep underground military bases, the DUM. He also mentioned that there was supposed to be spec ops operations where they went in and seized gold from the Vatican. In order to fill back up the Fort Knox. So supposedly now Fort Knox is back to having gold in it, which is kind of what I've been hearing. Yeah, kind of what I've been hearing. But who knows these days, right? I mean, the amount of disinformation, misinformation, and psyops out there, right? The entire disinfo train is really huge. So it's a problem, and here's another frustrating thing. You always wonder with the, what do you call the memory hole of the internet. For example, I was looking for embassies, worldwide, and the files are supposed to exist, but they're all missing. They're the ones that I could, try and locate, the U.S. embassies worldwide. And you got to wonder, like, is that an accident? Is it, what is? They want you to click. They're still available if you click and you get individual web pages, but actually finding in simple KML, all this stuff should be easy in the internet that we have now, let alone in Internet 3 as we head into Internet 3.0. all of it, which is why we have World War 3.0, is because the Internet 3.0 is coming about. And you would think it'd be easy to get, but it is not really that easy to get a simple database. So people willing to do any help because they want you to click these individual and then get the address and then and that's a pain in the butt when you're making a huge product like I'm talking about. This of course is a very unique map that I'm making. Nobody has a map like this, so just something to bear in mind. I'm going to skip the U.S. embassies and come back to it. This has been a pain in the butt. Let's do the missile sites here. Oh, try Google Maps. Oh wow, NPR. They're being useful. They haven't been useful in a while. So
I've been looking at this system called Open Maps. There's you can basically get these world maps, and it's all open data, and start from there. Because Google basically own everything. If you use Google Maps, that you're just giving all your data to them.
Right.
But this open map system, of course, you can. It's highly efficient, and you can put layers on exactly as you're doing. You can instead of just having pointers, you can put polygons on. Quite complicated polygons, and then you can do queries on the coordinate data. So how many oak trees are there in whatever Tennessee.
Look at speaking of conspiracy to remove information. Look, this NPR covered larger map nuclear missiles. Look, it's all gone now. All the information. You see what I'm saying? This is what I'm saying, that the internet that we all had growing up, Internet 1, the early internet, Web 2, is suddenly being scrubbed. And people need to understand it's going to be difficult for children to learn the truth about their education, let alone the actual history and the world, if they are able to scrub the internet of the actual facts of things. And it's a serious concern. Serious concern.
Ramon, it's not only being scrubbed, it's being rewritten as we speak. All of those statues that have been taken down have been replaced with LGBTQ princesses and queens and other religions and other. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, because this is what
wrong.
we are.
I'll say it's wrong. It's my show.
Hang on. No, not that this round is right or wrong or anything. I'm just saying that this is what we do as a species. We tear down the statues of the generation before us, and we work our hardest to erase their past, which destroys our past and our past enrichment, because we want to control the children and the future. This happens time and time again. This is why we can't become advanced civilization. This is the reason why, because we disagree ardently with our parents and our forefathers' religions.
I don't think it's regular people doing this. I think it's all agenda. I think it's all socialism. I don't think it's real. Now, I do understand that there are a bunch of useful idiots and they're helping tear down the statues, but I don't think they really understand like all of that. I don't think that they are really quite doing that. But that I see agenda where a lot of people see just incompetence or bad things happening. That's me. I see agenda. I see Yuri Bezmenov, and what he's talking about. What a pain in the butt. Look at the way that they've made this list. So it's all, of course, in degrees, minutes, seconds, which is fine. It's just it's annoying to I have to click each one and it's just unbelievable. So, anyways, I'll have background going. You guys keep talking.
So, what I'm talking about here is this constantly happens over and over again. And we try to erase our own history, and and destroy other people's history. You know, it's a tactic of war. It's just what happens. You ransack their artifacts and you hide the good ones in your own museum, and you kill all the people so they can't say that you stole all their stuff. And meanwhile, it's inside of the museum, and we've raided countries, stolen their stuff, and just like, oh, we're like, this existed, blah 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 blah, and the whole story of it is blood money. Anyway, I got on a tangent.
That's true. No, that's good. There's nothing wrong with having a tangent on this show. It matters to the audience. Our audience is a select audience of intelligent people with conscience and who are trying to be balanced and godly in a world gone hot. So that's enough pandering to the audience. You can all send me $20 later. Listen, the fact is that there's a whole lot of forces at play right now, and that includes all the way from the sun down to microbes. And these forces are having an extreme effect on people's relationships, on people's minds, on people's social behaviors, on politics, etc. Mimsically speaking, are there, other than making excellent ice cream, are there ways to mitigate this? What can we do to engineer solutions? Any thoughts?
Well, I was watching
that
Max Fleischman. Sorry, go on, buddy.
Solutions for what, exactly what part of the problem? I mean, there's a lot of problems going on.
Well, I mean, helping people achieve balance. I teach Tai Chi, and people go to yoga and stuff. How to help them be sane. And I mean, I got a lot of people coming in; they're losing their mind. They admit it too. Like they're not confused. They know. I
think death science, becoming familiarized with eternity and not being afraid of it, and like the idea of death, where is your sting? That type of demeanor can be actualized and realized for many people. I think a lot of people are really afraid of death and they want to control their own destiny, so they opt out and shoot themselves or commit suicide in one way or another. A lot of people are suffering and taking drugs and ODing, and this has been a lifelong desire for me to serve and solve humankind's depression, because I've conquered mine at a very young age, and I've been through a lot since then, but I've conquered mine, and I've always been able to be happy, or jovial, and like glee. I'm filled with glee and joy and happiness. And this is something that I think you can teach. And this is, I know, in fact, you can teach it. And there's something that I've developed, and I need to work with a team. It's a simple app. I don't know if you know anybody who does apps, an app designer.
I do.
But I have this idea.
He's good price too.
That is really, really, really simple and really, really beautiful. And I think it'll help so many people cope with life and afterlife and happiness, and basically it's a long-winded approach, or a short, to wrap it up in brevity, it's a funeral reformation. So I've been wanting to change that for quite a while here in America, because I'm Irish as fuck, so we about to party. A lot of people are going to die. A lot of people are going to party. It's time to party.
Okay. So, but that's after they've already. How about the living? I mean, what kind of engineered solutions do you have for the living?
I thought
A lot of
what you were going to
people
mention then, buddy, was you were going to start. You had a great idea to maybe freeze dry bodies and
No,
get into the funeral business. Yeah, that'll work,
no. To approach this any further, I would probably require an NDA, and we would just hit it hard, and it would be simple, done over in, and we would just run the software, hardware, whatever it turns into, and actually the many different multiple markets and everything that it's going to stimulate. So,
well, I mean, writing apps is pretty easy because it's basically just a web page with a that's served. It's just serving web pages for the app, and obviously, the data on the app you can transform using JavaScript. And then you can store data which you can process back at the server. So there's a number of ways. There's a number of ways to make distributed apps as well. So it's something that can be done pretty fast these days. If you've got an idea,
Oh yeah. That's the least of my concern. I think that's the, everything is based off of an idea. So I mean, whether I'm a app developer or not, this idea, it needs to happen for our health, for our sanctity, for humanity. The humanity. It needs to happen and for the hilarity and for good vibes and changing everything to our perspective on things, a large perspective shift, because we've been systematically desensitized to life and funerals in general, and seeing our dead ones or our loved ones, whether it's in an open casket or saying goodbyes or anything, because we've been restricted because of COVID for the last couple of years. So there's a lot of hurt there, a lot of hurt for a lot of people. So where there's pain, there's money, boys. No, I'm kidding, but seriously.
Well, that is true. I mean, let's be honest. Even if you're selling acupuncture, I mean, but mimically speaking, that's not really a problem. The universe does not agree with our obsession of eliminating pain. You can prove that with Shaolin Kung Fu or any sport really. You cannot achieve great heights without pain. The pain avoidance is an obsession, and that's what I try to teach my patients. That we're not there to remove your pain. We're there to make you better, and then your pain goes away. As I quip, and I'm not tongue in cheek about this. So, the beatings will continue until morale improves, and it's hard. It's not easy. Jesus said, "Those who have some in the hand will have more, and those who have none will have less." So that seems pretty unfair to people who are poor, but it's the truth. And if the truth is unfair, well, take that up with God, because I'm not in charge of the truth. I'm only a purveyor of the truth. So it's a difficult thing. What I try to do is get people to continue flowing, and if they can flow, they may remain relevant to the system, then they stick around. But getting through this level of pain and getting out the other side will be definitely quite an exercise in patience and working together, all that kind of good stuff. For this, I got lucky. I lucked out with a new thing. Apparently, I found something that will let me import this really simple. It's hard because I don't want people to suffer, especially because most of the time they're good people. And when good people suffer, it just makes you feel it inside yourself. When you see people suffering, what I consider unduly. But again, I'm not in charge of the system, and I just want my students and my people that I'm connected with to just connect to the reality and not disconnect. It's hard to watch people disconnect. If they're coming from a place of transcendence, that's one thing. But if they're coming from a place of avoidance, that is another thing completely. And too often I think that what I see is avoidance. I don't want people to suffer ever, but it is a part of our reality that we're going through. Anyways, in my opinion, if my opinion counts for anything, right? Again, I don't think the universe is worried about our opinions about it. I think it's just one thing we're conforming to. Now, as for engineering solutions, that's a whole different topic. Because I think that we can, vastly improve things like education. We can include things like martial arts, and that it will help people to cope better. I think martial arts really helps you cope.
I really like. My mom has wanted to get into. She was saying it's Tai Chi. Is that the slow one where you're?
Yeah, it's pronounced Tai Chi twin, but most people say Tai Chi because they think that it means the energy. It doesn't. That's not what it means. But
I think that Qigong's the energy manipulation one.
Yeah,
where they use energy
Qigong,
balls.
right? Correct. Yeah, Qigong is all about energy flow, but Tai Chi means the grand ultimate. And I have a whole paper on the Tai Chi. Not that we're going to cover it in the show this morning, but it is pretty important. This cannot be the entire. This is not all of the nuclear side. This is ridiculous. This side is definitely woefully inadequate. This map is woefully inadequate because I know there are
propaganda, dude. Every map is propaganda, dude.
Well, we know everybody knows that there's new stuff here in Alaska pointed towards Russia. So where the heck is this map? They have left out. Look at this.
They've taken so much down since the war started. They've taken so much down. They don't want us to look at that stuff and think about it or whatever. They've taken so much down.
You click this next link, the nuclear site. But anyway, so your mom wants to take Tai Chi. So why does she want to take Tai Chi? For health, for martial arts?
I do too. So I was just thinking about it, and she's probably gonna end up, or I hope I can get her into it. But I know I'm gonna do it just because I like. I guess Qigong would probably be one of my go-tos.
I think I'm going to start that Qigong. I do it a little bit anyway. I normally take my boots off if I'm up on the hill and really grain myself, and I feel the difference massively. Sometimes my hair stands straight up on end. Quite amazing. Yeah.
I mean, it's important because Qi is related to charge. Now, Qi practice, there's a lot of different kinds of Qi practice. You have spirit practice, you have internal alchemy, you have breath work, you have the Chinese yoga, or what used to be called, one Victorian actually translated it as Chinese gymnastics. It was kind of a funny translation. And then most called it the calisthenics. So there's different kinds of Qigong. You kind of target.
Yeah. Ramona, I'm particularly interested in this thing that I saw on the Max Fleischman. Is it the Max Fleischman report? And this guy, Bob Green, he now he's describing these Evo objects, of course, and he's making them do fusion and all sorts of things at the moment. But anyway, one of his little experiments showed this particular structure that kept being formed. It was only at sort of nanometer level dimensions, and this soliton, what had sat in the metal, it had formed what now it's a particular sign that's always printed on cannabis, that kind of Indian lotus flower or something like that. And it's also the same as the Indian lotus position, and it creates at the seat of your you're creating this energy vortex which is still at the center, and that actually generates light. And so I think what these ancient masters were doing is building up this energetic force, and being able to manipulate it to do things like carve out stone caves, maybe build.
Yeah, you're talking about what's called the rainbow body.
I don't know if I've never heard it being called anything. I don't know anything about it, to be honest.
Well, the rainbow body, and it is a state of charge that supposedly exists for what are called savants. Now, the stages of alchemy to get there, of course, you have to eat pure, and that means, when I say pure, it means all the foods become bland and there's no grain and no no major animal product.
Yeah.
And then you're supposed to, of course, meditate basically all the time, and then you have to be morally pure, which means detached from everything living. And then supposedly at the end of that, you're so highly charged up you can melt stone. And it might be true. We have one piece of data. What's his name? Neil Thompson, Electric View. He has his theory as to how they were able to melt those stones. The locals say that it was definitely a guru, sage savant who came out of the cave and could glow, and he melted the stone with his hand. Whereas Neil says that when the current was flowing through the crystal lattices, that basically some form of purification occurred, and anyone could go and put their hand up and melt it without being burned. I guess the audience will have to decide who they believe, but the fact is that a full hand, human male hand, has been pushed into a stone, vitrified the stone. I guess I'll pull up the video so people or the picture can see that.
Yeah, well, I'm going to try.
I'm
going to try it anyway, because we've got this stone we've got up round here is very highly silicate. It's absolutely loaded with crystals, and well, only very fine ones, to be honest. But
I'd say it was a mud, Ramon. I'd say that it was mud in a mud state, and then it changed from mud to a vitrified state later.
I mean, it looks vitrified. I'm trying to pull up the images. It's not exactly. It's not always easy to find.
It'd be interesting to find out the electric charge in some of these old stones. If they're if the magnetic field's still which way it's pointing, basically. Have a look at how the charge is distributed through the stone. Can tell you quite a lot about the thing, can't it? And the surface and the different layers. If
I remember which paper I had it in, I could. Well, you know what? I can do a Google Drive search, and it might actually come up.
I've seen pictures of hands in melted rock. It's probably the same one you're thinking of. Is it long?
Yeah, it is.
Like
the audience
pushed into the rock, like pushed a little bit long.
Right.
Just look up the images on Google search.
Yeah, that wasn't working as fast as my paper was. So we're just going to the bottom of the charge distributed network paper. In the appendix, I have information about it. Now I remember I put this in. There it is. Right. I mean, maybe this mud, maybe it's some kind of weird tar. It's hard to know exactly how it was done, but I mean, it definitely happened. It's supposed to be this man, Padmasambhava, out of Nepal. So, the question is, how realistic is that? Now, I can tell you, in my greatest charged state, I definitely could see. I was able to maintain it long enough to see how Grandmaster Yu Ming was able to sleep between two chairs with only his head and his feet touching, and then it was a bridge. My back arched in a way, and it felt like it was stiff as steel. And so I could see that there is a state in which charge is flowing inside, and if you can maintain that, I was only able to hold mine. It was such a blissful experience for 15 minutes that, and then you start thinking, how blissful is this? How amazing is this? And then the sense of I comes back. And when the sense of I comes back, you sever. And when you sever, you lose that state. You have to stay permanent while you're doing it, while you're sleeping that way. You have to stay permanently. So if you can become cleared out, you can do that. Of course, I'm defiled, right? American life, I have all the normal kind of things. I eat normal kinds of foods and all this stuff. You can't do that when you continue down that path. It's a magical path, and you will experience different things. Obviously, my life would be very much different. I wouldn't have gotten in if I had followed that path. I wouldn't have gotten into the electric universe. Not in that way. I would have been fully into the Taoist magical path, and I would have my entire worldview would have been wrapped up in that way of going about things, which is a bit ironic, but it is the quantum stream that I would have encountered if I had continued in that path. That was back in, let's see, I was doing that kind of like hardcore alchemy, because the alchemy I practice now is much more like open and transparent. My external alchemy doesn't involve necessarily like consuming ormus or something, but in observing how the outer world and the inner world interact with each other in a much more natural way. However, internal alchemy as a primary mode, there are different levels. I definitely recommend, if people get interested in internal alchemy, there's a book called The Book of Balance and Harmony. I'll pull it up on the screen here. I'm supposed to be working on this daggone map. I'm over here about Qigong. You're like, let's talk about what Ramon loves to do. Okay, anyway. It's a book of balance and harmony. It's a good translation of Liu Yiming. Liu Yiming was a Taoist sage who basically lived it for 40 years before he started writing. So he'd practiced by a long time by then. And in this book, he sets forth the various levels of internal alchemy. Whether they're superior grade or middling grade or inferior grade. There's two different levels of the sexual alchemy. There is inferior grade, which is what most people get into, and then there's the superior tantric stuff. And it all depends on the purposes and how you're moving the energy, etc. So before people dive in, they buy like Charles Luke's Taoist Yoga or something, and then they should look through this book and really understand the various dangers of having a bad school of alchemy to follow. I will tell you though, so there's been one confirmed 250-year-old man in the modern era who didn't live at the time the orbits were different, and he was documented by the government, by the military, and he didn't do any advanced alchemy. The only thing he did was something called the what was this called? Eight brocades.
Does he look 250 years old?
Well, he's dead now. So dead a long time. So here's Young's doing it, but there is a book about his here. What was his name? There's Eight Brocades. I'm trying to remember the name of the writer of that book. There's a book on the Eight Brocades. Yeah, there's a lot. It's a very powerful practice that has been around for a long time. Getting this okay. See the result. There's the seated Qigong. There is, let's see here. Yeah, Stuart L. Olson. So he wrote a book, and this was the actual what was written on the tablets by the 250-year-old man. So what he actually left behind, most of his what he said people should do uh, had to do with natural living, eating herbs and plenty of high altitude, a low oxygen kind of environments. Uh, he was a cloud walker. He was also a deadbeat dad. He didn't have any stress. He had lots of children. I think he had like 7 wives, and he outlived all of them. But he didn't raise any of the kids himself.
Well, if you're 250 years old, I guess there's some hints there.
Yeah, well, and he probably had a genetic mutation too. He would have acquired that genetic mutation from his teacher father. And his teacher father probably picked him because he knew, hey, this is the one special one I've made. And probably the same thing happened for him. Because DNA is passed on alchemically as well. And so if you improve the DNA for yourself, you improve it for your progeny. And if they improve it, then they improve it for their progeny. And it builds upon, so the curse laid out in the Bible of revisited upon 7th generation, it works in reverse too. If you have high quality DNA, you can pass on high quality DNA. And that's probably, the chances are good that his, what is his, I forget his name at the moment, but he's a 250-year-old man. Let me look here.
Can we get hooked up with some of this guy's DNA? Hey.
Li Chungyun. Yeah, Li Chungyun. And he probably passed on some pretty good DNA to his progeny. But he didn't practice any super advanced alchemy. He just did the 8 brocades. As far as what records we have, because there was, remember, he was being followed by this general and Yang Sun, who was obsessed with him because he was the only person in history to receive the 100-year-old certificate twice. And here it is. Oh, he had 24 wives. Holy cow. He survived over 23 of them. That's pretty impressive. So the documentation is there, and then his personal opinion. But Qigong is amazing. I have to tell you though, if you want to get Qigong and you want the same benefits, study Bagua.
Do I have to go to a high altitude?
No, not with Bagua. You don't. I mean, Bagua is great. You're gonna do really well. If you had to pick only one between Qigong, Tai Chi, and Bagua, pick Bagua.
I want to mess around a little bit with all 3 of them now.
Well, if you mess around a little bit, that's fine. But it would take you 30 years to mess around a little bit and become significant. I would recommend, unless you're being taught by me, and then somebody helps you to interweave the 3 to where they become one.
I'm 37. I'm about to be 38. So I need to move towards the one. If I were to try to master them, which I wouldn't, I'm just a student. Which one would be the best for an older body? Not older, but middle-aged body.
Yeah, no, the Bagua is still going to be the best. It's going to be the best overall in all ages. Now, it's not going to be the easiest in the geriatric, right? Tai Chi is going to be easier in the geriatric. But if you want the greatest benefit, I'm telling you that Bagua is number 1. Can't be beat. So that being said, I teach the other, right? Because of course it's beneficial still, and we always warm up with Qigong in class. Ooh.
Yeah. Excuse me.
So there was an error. Not sure what's going on here. That's weird. When are you going to start?
I don't know.
The answer is as soon as possible.
I'm already doing it in my kitchen, actually.
Oh, there you go. You have a teacher? You need to have a teacher if you really want to understand Tai Chi.
Yeah, I'm a dancer, so I want to maybe develop one of my own, but I want to learn some of the other stuff. Who knows? I mean,
Hold up. Did you just say you wanted to develop your own Tai Chi?
No, I don't know. I know what Tai Chi. I know I'm good at moving energy as it is, and steering tornadoes and plasma donuts and all sorts of other stuff with mudras, and like I'd like to incorporate mudra work with some Tai Chi or some other energy works. Maybe dancing, but Tai Chi is like similar to like it'd be cool to break into that and continue to do like some slow mudras throughout, or with quicker moves, quicken the mudras. I already feel like that's what I do anyway. I don't know what it is, you know.
Yeah, I mean, with all due respect, develop a respect for the cultural strain of Tai Chi, and treat it with at least enough reverence to it. There is a flavor, okay, and I'll be frank with you. Most American yoga, I don't know anything about your practice or anything, but most American yoga is totally severed from the yogic experience, the tantric experience.
Of course, yeah.
So there's a flavor, and that flavor, if you don't get it, you just don't get it. And it's always sad to see people who think that they're doing Tai Chi, and of course they're not doing Tai Chi at all. And that makes it a little bit kind of frustrating too, as a person who teaches it, because you want to see the art survive, but it's difficult in a place like America where people aren't exactly honest with themselves. You know what I mean?
Well, America, we Americanize everything. So you get Tex-Mex food. You get none of our Mexican food is like Mexican tacos. It's like, so we Americanize it. Whatever it is, it is.
Yes, and I personally, I think it's a bad thing. That's my personal belief. I'd have
to watch videos of someone, because I'm not going to travel to a different country to learn it. I'd have to watch videos.
No, you don't have to do that. There should be a local teacher somewhere. There should be. As I say, the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Do I want it to be Americanized teaching of it?
Well, that's the difference. I didn't say it would be a good teacher. You have to find one that cares about the what I was talking about, the flavor and the original, the original strain.
What did Bruce Lee do? What did Bruce Lee do?
Well, he invented his own. After he studied Wing Chun and got a little advanced, he invented his own martial art based upon his particular bent and philosophy. And it turned out to, in this case, be pretty good. But that's probably because he had previous, what do you call? I reached the layer limit for this map. That's bullshit.
Mentors.
No, I mean, he probably had previous years' experience. Previous lifetimes of experience. Probably what that is. This is not going to work. I'm gonna have to put all these nukes into one KMZ file. It's gonna have to happen.
So now we can't believe in talent. We have to call it multiple life spans.
Well, again, if you're going to understand Eastern philosophy, you should understand all of it, which is, in Eastern philosophy, if a person has a talent, it means that they had what's called a pre-heaven blessing, pre-heaven benefit. And those pre-heaven benefits come from usually lifetimes of practice. And my personal experience with this is that about 3 years into Chinese medicine school, I started asking questions that the teachers there didn't understand. And then a guy came from China who was a scholar on the I Ching, and I was asking him questions. He didn't know how to answer those questions. And then I realized that my proclivities were not just a natural talent, but they were I was drawing on previous lives of knowledge. and that humbled me actually, because it meant that I was nothing as compared to whatever I used to be. Nothing. And I still feel that way. I still feel that, like, unfortunately for me, I am not as knowledgeable as I would have been in the past. However, in this lifetime, when I turned down a chance to join a Taoist magical cult, essentially, I mean, I've been invited to an inner door school, a Longmen Dragon Gate school. Immediately, the Electric Universe stuff opened up, and now I know origins of Taoism, like going way further back. Because my mind at that time, ancient to me meant like 3,000 to 4,000 years ago, and now we're way beyond that. I'll be right back. Just one second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry, the kids needed a little bit of direction. I wonder if there's a way to combine KMZ file. Now, then there's the martial side. Did you have any interest in the martial side?
Marshall Mathers?
No, martiality, like as in war art.
Like as in.
Listen, when you bring up Tai Chi, I'm going to take the subject extremely seriously.
Like as in origins of pertaining to the marsh?
No, as in fighting ability.
I think that these disciplines often are associated with brilliant people who also trained and are interested in self-discipline in one way or another, and a lot of that has to do with also.
I don't know what you're trying to say. What I'm saying is that it is a martial art, and does it interest you to study martiality in Tai Chi?
Maybe not at this point in my life. I took some karate and stuff like that, and then I broke my arm and I stopped karate.
Okay, I understand.
Like 7.
So for people who are out there who are interested in the Tai Chi, because if you study only the health part, you only get the health part. But if you study the art part, you get the art and the health. And if you study the martiality, you get all three. And so for people who are interested, there is a book that pre-existed the Tai Chi Classics. There's a book called the Tai Chi Classics by Wei Sun Miao. And people should, if they really want to understand Tai Chi, they really have to read the classics. There's no way around it. However, there is a book that pre-existed that by a general in the Chinese army. It's like called The Secrets of Nimbleness. And he was talking about what, it didn't used to be called the Grand Ultimate Fist. It used to be called Long Fist. And so it's called Changquan. And he was talking about the secrets of the nimbleness. And you can see the roots of the Tai Chi classics in his work. And so I definitely recommend people who want to really study Tai Chi get into On the Secrets of Nimbleness book. And pretty I think pretty important, but that's just my merging KMZ file. Be these KML, KMZ files, they're like cool, but if you need to combine them, it's not necessarily a straightforward thing. And Google Earth limits the number of layers for some reason. They have infinite data, infinite cloud, and they're like, no, you can't have a Google Map with it, which is a bit ridiculous.
We can't let you compare and contrast.
Yeah, comparing, you can't do that. So, Nick, you said you wanted to do Qigong. Were you interested in the attainment of charge through the crown to get more energy, or was it just for exercise or like breathing? Did you want to improve your oxygenation? Like, what is your?
Well, I think when I'm correctly charged, I start thinking a lot better, and
That's true. Yeah.
I kind of get inspired, and I kind of get into it's almost sometimes like I can hear what the birds are saying to each other.
Yep, that's all.
And,
that's all accurately
yeah,
described. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I get to see things that people don't see, and they aren't hallucinations either. But in terms of wildlife and just the coincidental stuff that happens when you're in that state, it's like you're a magnet for all this stuff, you know. Even the colours change and go sort of brighter, and it's that kind of state that I feel I'm kind of energized. There's no pain in my body, which there normally is, and I feel calm and very relaxed and happy, and I think I've only just really scratched the surface of the of where you can take it, and I think it's a matter of somehow setting up this vertical charge around you, hooking it up with what's available in your natural surroundings where you are in the place that you do it, and it kind of well, I suppose what do they call it? I suppose that's your sacred grove, you know, your Nematol or something, isn't it? I don't know, can't remember. You know where the druids used to go in their circles in the woods to get in.
No, I don't know. I don't know exactly what you're talking about. Tell us about that.
Oh, Nematon, yeah, Nematon. Yeah, you basically get into a mental state that you can well, you tune into everything, the Akashic records, what's going to happen, what will happen, what has happened, blah de blah.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, but a very important thing. Subjective truth isn't necessarily actual truth. Don't you agree?
Well, I mean, the thing is, it gives you clues that you can then go away, and if you've got suspicions in one direction or another, you know, go and look around the subject, and then you realise that you have stumbled onto something real, because it describes something, you know, other phenomena that have been just described in a different way. But from a healing point of view as well, when it's happened, you can I've actually had it where I've felt the signature of the pain change. Well, I mean, it was very variable at one point where when I smashed my heel bone, but I felt the signature change after about 6 months. And it was a mental thing that did it.
Right. But don't you think that's also Jerry Tennant when he says like the voltage healing?
Is it what? Sorry.
Jerry Tennant is talking about voltage is healing. I mean, I pulled up that paper charge distributive networks, and that's where I had the rainbow body thing. Don't you think that it is directly related to charge?
Well, yeah, and I'm interested in it as well because I've got a significant piece of titanium in my right foot, and I've got a titanium metal knee as well on that leg. So
how'd you get
that? Well, I had to have my knee replaced because the just bone were worn away, and the foot I smashed my heel bone into about 20-30 pieces. So and yeah. That I think that really changed the magnetic flow in my body massively, and I went through this. Well, I wound up in hospital. I'd had this basically my body just kind of, my nervous system just caved in, and I couldn't move, basically. But then over 3 days, I started feeling better and better, and it was like I just increasingly felt like I was on LSD, and they didn't give me any medication in the hospital at all, and it kind of the trip got bigger and bigger, and I came out of hospital, and I don't know, I had changed. My life had I was just in a state of absolute bliss, and that's when I realised the sun was alive, and
Wow.
yeah, and then off I go down to the local. But I was still kind of hobbling along, but I took my dog down there every day, feverishly, picking up these round stones out of the river, all sorts of different ones. I don't know why we're doing it, but I used to go down and spend it, and I'd pick these stones up, and I'd take them back to the garden, the back garden, which I'd, and I was hanging them off the trees, and I, for the life of me, do not know why I was doing that, but it was just a kind of an expression that just started. Off it went. I don't know if I'd gone mad or anything, but I just felt so happy. And that lasted probably for about 3 months.
Yeah, that's called
about 3.
It's called Xiao Yao. It means free and easy wanderer. It's a state of moving the liver sheath for the first time.
Right.
Very important. Yeah, very important.
Because get this then, because when I was in hospital, Oldham Royal Hospital, they made me wait in there because the pharmacy was trying to produce these drugs for me, and right, no, I'm out of here. I've had enough. I felt great. The sun was out. So anyway, I went staggering out of hospital because I was still very, very dizzy. And when I went, I said, I'm not hanging around for the pharmacist. I'm off anyway. So off I went. She said, well, what should we do about these drugs? I said, I'll pick them up. I've got an appointment with my doctor in 3 days, and I'll pick them up off him. Anyway, I rolled into Dr. Taylor's, and he said, congratulations, Mr. Gartside. I didn't know what he meant at all. So I had a good old chat with him, and sort of recounted my experiences, and he was kind of pleased for me, you know. But he insisted I go on this psychiatric evaluation. But the thing is, this guy, Dr. Taylor, his best mate was called Dr. Shipton, and Dr. Shipton is the most notorious mass murderer in British history.
I was just gonna say I don't trust doctors as you said that.
Yeah. So anyway,
he coincidentally had the same name, or is he related?
No, he was defending him in court at the inquiry. I mean, they think he murdered at least 250 old women, you know.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How?
Well, he used to, what he'd do is he was a pethidine addict, and what he did is he prescribe him a big chunk of pethidine, go around, show him how to administrate it, get him high, make him sign all the wills over to him, and then whack him, give him a hot shot with pethidine, and then he'd have the rest of
it. Wow.
Yeah.
That is some serious psycho.
After 1 or 2 people signed their wills over to that guy, they should have been onto him.
Yeah. Well, that's a serious issue.
Yeah, they treated like above suspicion, all they were in those days, you know. And anyway, I looked up this drug what they'd prescribed me.
Talk about
I'll
it.
remember it one of these days. I can't. Something fiend.
The
I
one
can't
that the
remember
one
it.
to try and bring you out of your spiritual state. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and it was. I
Yeah.
looked it up, and it was a neural inhibitor. Um,
There you go. There you go.
Chemical cash.
Yeah.
And that's what they were trying to do to me.
So I had a priest that came, or not a priest, preacher. He'd actually gotten Minister of the Year. He got so close to the Holy Spirit helping all these people that his whatever wife became concerned because he was so he was being touched. So then he went to the psychiatrist and they put him on a drug and it severed him like immediately. And when it severed him, his whole life went to pot and he's never been the same. He's never been the same man since.
Yeah, just sat there like a monk.
He had like an
Wow.
affair and like everything fell apart. All after they put him on this drug to control his connection to the Holy Spirit. He trusted psychiatrists because obviously, if you read the Bible, it's very clear that these guys are high on something, right? They're high on Holy Spirit. People often ask me, like, what do you? I just joke. I just say plasma. One guy said, what do you like? Never sleep? Or are you always on coke? I'm like, it's just plasma. But
yeah, they do the same thing with me constantly. Yeah, we're the same in that regard.
Yeah, exactly. But this guy, he had gotten to a whole new level, which is dangerous. It is a dangerous level. I mean, Qigong psychosis is a real thing. Kundalini syndrome is a real thing. And people need to be careful when they do alchemy that they don't what's called burn the medicine. And having a couple of times burn the medicine or applied too much voltage to both internal alchemy and external alchemy. I can tell you like there are ramifications. However, I've never trusted them to provide me a poison to fix my brain because if you do that, if you really need it, that's one thing, right? But if you're just a normal person and you're experiencing the catharsis of life, the difficulties, the anxieties, and then you go and you trust them putting a poison in, you don't know if they've got the right one the very first time, or if you could take the wrong one and then that wrong one leads you down a bad path that leads to other destruction.
They were actually treating the process of my healing as a disease. That's what they were trying to do. Yeah. They were trying to say my actual healing was a mental disease.
Wow. Yeah, and that is more common than people think. Like obviously, here's the funny thing: if you have the qi in the chest, or what's called de, as in the Tao Te Ching, if you have that, you'll encounter the best doctors, you'll encounter the best surgeons, you'll have excellent dental visits and stuff like that. But if you don't, everything goes wonky, and then people they wonder like, oh, why is it gone wonky? Well, it's gone wonky because you already had bad energy, so your quantum flux state was interfered with, and it's interfered with. Like is not usually for a bad. The probability of bad goes up, and the possibilities of good also go down. And that's a bad situation when you talk about mensically speaking, because you have a possibility, probability, potentiality cloud. Now, of course, everything is potential in some ways, right? I mean, you could potentially get hit by a flying asteroid made of cheese right now, but the probability of that is so daggone low, no one worries about it. However, in a situation where you have bad energy circulating, you have not enough charge positively, negative charge, but positive energy circulating in you, then you aren't able to get rid of the likelihood of a high probability of bad fortune. And that's why my work with the discussing the ether, the men's in the ether, is I think so important. Certainly, it juiced up my business partner. He like that night got like or the next day or something like that, got like a big business offer, and but he had to step through it and be careful. And as it turns out, it may have been really dangerous. We don't know for sure whether these guys were for real or not. But either way, it came through immediately, and that means that there's an energetic flow that is happening. It's going to be related to charge. Now, how it connects to you, I mean, obviously we have the Birkeland current idea. Some have quantum non-locality, synchronicity. I reckon Buddy's probably got an idea as to how this charge reaches you from the ether. Maybe he wants to talk about it. I'm not sure how busy he is. But
I dance with it. I dance with it.
Well, I meant geometrically. If you wanted to talk about how it would reach you, over vast distances.
Well, talking geometrically about it is talking dance about it.
There you go. Go ahead.
All things are dancing. The ether is excitable, and as soon as you get excited, your hands go up, and that's the same thing that happens when I'm doing electropyrography and electrocuting the wood with high voltage electricity. When you deprive it of liquid and it has to draw from large, far extended sources, water in between, there forms this dehydrated, droughted type of area. But all of a sudden, these squatter men appear on a horizon, and they all extend with their arms going up and their legs growing out, and it's just like
suddenly everyone's a tree.
It's just like tropism and phototropism, electrotropism, tropism, geotropism, where we're growing out. There's a few other tropisms, but this is electricity. This is the dance. This is us being happy and happy, quote unquote, content, satiated, not wanting anything, being all set, peaceful.
Yeah, material and spiritual merge.
This place exists, and it's called the Golden Mean, and it's a perfect place where you're not too rich and you're not too poor. And
funny you bring that up.
It's a Goldilocks zone. It's a Goldilocks zone is the golden ratio.
Yeah, people keep mentioning the golden roads and the amount of gold that they see. And here's a funny thing too. On days when heaven's chi descends in the clinic, there's always a golden sheen as well as a clear blue sky.
That's beautiful.
So, okay. All right. So Nick, I'm sorry, we jumped on your thing. So you were being, they were treating you like a guinea pig to poison up while you were trying to heal. And then what happened?
Well, I refused the medicine. And what happened there? I refused the medicine, and I think a couple of months later I went back to work. The only thing I could do, because I couldn't walk very well, I got a job on a belt at the at the fucking waste transfer yard, with all the Czechs and the Polish and the Czech lads who just come over, and I was just working with them, sorting through the rubbish. Because I didn't have to move apart from being on a belt, my mind just went into complete. I could go all over the world, you know what I mean, in my mind, and it started. Symphonies started going. You know, the vibrations of the machinery and the noise of it all started turning into music. And then, of course, while these guys are looking for bits of money in if there's any clothing, they're looking for bits of gold or money or stuff like that. Of course, books. So I'm going home with a rucksack full of books every night, about 10 books every night. So within the space of like 3 years, I've got a massive library in my bedroom. But of course, all the books are full of mud because they've been through the transfer site. And yeah, basically, my trip drifted off, and life turned back into just dull reality again. For a little while.
So that's an end of the initial stage, the honeymoon period in the alchemy, and then you begin the actual like the work part, like living with the regular people while in a pre-enlightened or early enlightened state. And then the job, according to people like Louis Ming, who wrote the Book of Balance and Harmony and many other classics like the Tao Te Ching, is that then you blend what you've learned with the difficult realities like pain and suffering and people the violence and all the sin and everything, and you turn all that lead into gold, and the mercury, because they knew mercury and lead were poisonous, but they became integral words in the Chinese alchemy, meaning that they thought that the poison was actually an indication of something important, like the poison of oneself is part. Obviously, there's still obsessions with purity. I reckon that the obsessions with purity, I think, is a mental aberration itself, but no different than thievery. But at the same time, if I'm not pure, how would I know, right? If I don't have the rainbow body, how would I know?
Well, that's it. It's something you don't know unless you're aware of it. You can't really explain what it is, because you can't explain, say, a color, a color to a blind person, really. It's just impossible to do it.
Having gone a ways into the alchemy, I can tell you it's definitely dangerous. But that doesn't mean people shouldn't do Qigong. I will tell you this: all the sages agree, and the classics. When you start, you should do it every day. At least for the foreseeable future, until you remove blockages. And one of the most important blockages that people can remove is to actually kick the wind out of the knuckles, because the wind is what causes arthritis. And it really does feel, by the way, like wind is leaving your knuckles. Now, I'm not going to tell you it's not all sunshine and roses. Just yesterday, I was treating a patient, and out in the outside of the room at my desk, working on these papers and such, and I feel overwhelming sleepiness because she came in for insomnia. And at the end of a treatment the other day, I have a patient. She's rather obese, and she's really lovely. She's very honest, so she wouldn't have any problem with saying that. But we were treating her shoulder, but then I removed the needles, and suddenly now my jaw hurts. I have this terrible cramp inside the solar plexus. And so I tell her about it this week, and she goes, "Oh yeah, well, remember one of the things I came in for was for jaw pain." It's like, well, that was an incredibly unpleasant experience. But the transfer of bad charge is a possibility. It's not all sunshine and roses. Is my point.
So
doesn't mean Nick, I would do it different. I wouldn't do it different, but
I got a question for you, Nick.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ramon. That was all awesome and pertinent information. Makes me wonder about the transfer. Like sometimes when I sleep on my shoulders, on my side, I have broad shoulders. So when I sleep on my side, like it collapses my shoulders, or my shoulder goes out of socket if I put my arm under my pillow. It causes so much pain, and it's just like the next day, like rubbing out the pain inside of the tips of the bones of my shoulders and stuff reminds me of energy and electricity moving to the points and the edges of things. Because it's always right in the edges of the tips of these bones that I'm like massaging. But
you were gonna ask Nick a question?
Yeah. But Nick, so after that experience, because I have an experience like that where the sun is alive, it's a living being moment. That is one of the greatest experiences you can ever feel in your entire life.
It is. It was quite weird because what I've been doing.
You sun gaze at all?
It was a lovely May, sunny May, and what I've been doing is I only had a desktop computer. So I'd run upstairs, look something up, and then go and sit outside, and then smoke a fat one. Go get back up on the computer. You know, I just really got used to internet and all this business. I suppose 10 years ago, and I was sat there and I thought, oh, there must be a bird behind the tree there, because I could feel there's something looking at me intensely. And I'm normally really pretty spot on with that. And I looked to see where this bird was, and then I realised it wasn't a bird; it was the sun that had kind of popped through the cloud, and it seemed to be kind of smiling at me again, you know. And it was just really strange. I was after the early stages of it, I was getting that synesthesia, where I could sound. You can hear light and or see sound.
Yeah.
And I couldn't stand looking at, if I walked past a lamppost or a telephone post and then looked up, it made me fall over almost. I'd completely lose my balance. And the thing is, the lamppost had bent. It had just bent, like just melt over. And so as you're walking along, all the bloody lampposts are melting. You know what I mean? I kind of got really used to it, but I was in that state, and it was kind of, I knew I was in the world of the wild animals, really, somehow. It was quite strange. Yeah, that's all I can describe. It was mystical, you know what I mean? It was mystical.
Quite a bit different than my experience. And nothing really led this on. What really led this? Was there anything that you took, or other than you mentioning you're smoking fat doobies?
Oh, I was smoking a lot of that, but well, like I said, I smashed my heel bone to bits, which is it's the hardest bone in your body, and it was extremely painful.
That's what led you into hallucinating?
Well, I think after 6 months of that, it wasn't really, you know, it was a long-term injury, but I think all the charges in my body had rearranged, you know. The energy in my body had kind of, you know, I don't know, it had gone bad somehow, and I was twisted up. I couldn't really walk anymore. I couldn't get, you know, and I wasn't getting any better, and that kind of happened, and it made me better somehow. But no, apart from no, not just a smoke of weed. That's me, you know. A few beers after work.
Was it your left arm?
No, my heel, my foot, my heel bone.
Oh, I thought you said elbow.
No, my calcaneum, the heel bone.
Okay.
Your Achilles, my Achilles heel.
Gotcha.
Right. I mean, that's all of your kidney channel. So you know, reconnecting your kidney channel could be a particularly psychedelic experience. It's not usual, but it's theoretical. There's nothing to stop it from being. So, thing is, like when you're experiencing this stuff, even inside the brain. I had one of the students at acupuncture school. She said, "You can't sense what's going on in the head," and that turned out to be false. I actually was able to make a connection that they didn't teach in school, and is incorrect in the Peter Dedman book. That explained why stomach 8 is up on the corner of the head and stomach 9 is down on the neck. And I did so by paying attention to the pathways inside the brain. But you have nerves that monitor the nerves. So as you're going through this experience, you know, where your fascia and your what are called the chromovascular system, which is just nothing but meridians and charge distributor network, as it's having a reaction or a circulation, your nerves are sending up information to the head about how to interpret it, and that interpretation probably was, you know, chemically inducive to creating a psychedelic experience. They have shown that when people circulate these things, they improve their neuroplasticity. They release DMT inside their brain, and they have really strong. There's supposed to have been an actual Tibetan monk who said, "Bring me your strongest LSD," and then he drank it, and then he said, "I don't feel anything," and he just meditated. Supposedly, but that's not data. That's just
that sounds like some snake charmer shit. Come on.
It sounds like it, but at the same time, those Tibetan monks, they have two things that we know are fact. There's two things we know about.
There's supposedly a monk that called all nature. It was Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls, was based off of it. That part of it anyway, where that Tibetan monk or that guy called all of nature, and all of nature, the creatures came in and into this synagogue or something because it was some protest or who knows what it was about. But you've heard about that, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's also the guy in Japan who could put, and this is on video, he can put animals to sleep from hundreds of yards away. And we have that on video. We could see him
what
putting.
The fuck? How about you send that? Let's play that. I want to see that. Come on, let's hear it.
I will. I'll find it. But the facts about the Tibetans are this: they have a meditation that can keep the body from rotting for a month, and they also have multiple instances have been recorded of them going out and controlling body heat and turning on and off various like behaviors like peristalsis in the organs, etc.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
I can control my gut murmurs. Like if someone wants to hear my gut moan, like I can control it. I can be like, hang on, 3, 2, 1, and then.
This is a short one. I hate to, get advertisement.
That's about it. Whatever the advertisement is, doesn't matter. So what's this guy's name? And
Kanzawa Sensei, and he connects with the animals, and he puts them to sleep. And animals don't have placebo, so you're not going to fool these animals, from by getting into an agreement.
I love staring at animals. There's something hypnotic. It's hypnagogic almost, like when you stare at animals in their eyes and they're stunted.
So these are llamas and alpacas that he's controlling.
Okay.
Let's see here. And let's see.
This lady's like, my God, these llamas never lay down. How's he doing this?
No, so they go out to a random field, finds an animal that's way out there. Because obviously the show's like, well, this is unbelievable. So you know how they do with these kinds of shows. So here's a buffalo. It's not exactly cooperative animals.
Is he going for the black one?
I don't remember. I saw this a long time ago. We're watching it together.
Because if there's a crowd of 10 of them,
I think that he's going for the one on the left. I don't know for sure. Looks like it. What's interesting is the animal appeared to be a little bit like kind of moved drunk like.
Yeah.
Before, and so here goes the other one. And
right.
Now I would say there's some kind of electrical interference, some kind of way of doing charge, so he gets the next one to go down. He's working pretty hard at it too. The John Chang, showed that they could move this form of charge through a diode without there even being a closed circuit. I mean,
well, we already know that we're energy, but like controlling energy and controlling a flame at a distance, or this kind of thing is always interesting.
Well, yeah, because
he's like now I'm gonna
fire as plasma,
Okay, so he's enervating the energy. So he's gaining energy by doing this. He's pulling their energy away.
We don't know exactly his school, and how similar it is to, say, the Mopai people. Yeah, but what we do know is that the human mind should be able to know. And this is a very dangerous thing to do. Be in this pen with him, but he feels utterly in control. Of course, there's stories in the Bible of people who were able to, be around lions. There's a man who famously hangs out with lions and hyenas. Doesn't matter how he smells. He has no problem with the energy. And see, he's able to. This is a big bull. This is a pretty big bull. So if it succumbs to the will of another male, it would be very surprising. Apparently not. I guess that he's certainly stayed safe, which is unusual. It's a very dangerous thing to have done, and he didn't appear to be too worried about it. But he's an interesting guy. There's lots of these superhumans. Of course, Stan Lee had a whole superhuman show, Stan Lee Superhuman, and there were lots of really, really fascinating people with unique powers in the show. Many of them did come down to some form of electrical ability, or something physical, mechanical, like extra thick skull or something. But I think it's fascinating, and certainly I think that there is far more to what the East has said than we've given credence to. Unfortunately, there are people in the West that have misinterpreted it because of movies like Star Wars, and they think that that's exactly what it's like. And then there's that guy who was getting his student high on oxygen, and then he like ran full on, tackled this woman student, just like blasted right through her. It's really like upsetting because she's obviously hurt, but it's also funny on account of these people were completely deluded. They were getting high on oxygen, thinking that they were becoming super Jedi. And when the Chinese talked about the Superman, they didn't mean that you were impervious to things. Although there were cults that popped up, especially in the 1800s, where they thought they would be impervious to bullets and knives and stuff. And that's not how Iron Body works. It is a pretty tough thing, and you do have special powers, but the special powers don't defy the laws of physics, of course. So it's always a funny thing. I personally witnessed a guy who was on Guinness who could walk on rice paper, and he is a pretty energetic guy. Like, you'd be around, and all the Americans in the audience. I mean, I was used to this stuff because of my martial arts, and I went up and talked to him. He was a very normal guy. He'd been through a lot though because of the CCP. They imprisoned him, and he's a political prisoner and all this stuff because of his chi powers. But he was just doing, most of it was like sideshow kind of stuff that they have been in Kung Fu for a long, long time. But the American audience that was in there, I mean, they were practically male or female, were like orgasming all about this guy because they wanted his power and they wanted that connection that he clearly had, because he could project it out with his hand. You could feel it from very far away. This warmth would go right across your face as he would fan his hands back and forth. Very nice man. I enjoyed talking to him. But he wasn't the most amazing Qigong guy ever, but he was clearly a very, very special person. And the audience, this is all in Southern California, the audience went absolutely bonkers for him because they could sense it. However, real thunder magicians, I mean, the things that they do are totally next level. There's a book, Michael Sassow, if people want to read Taoist Master Zhuang. And in it, there's one story. He was living with the Master Zhuang, who was a folk wizard. So the way that it works in Taoism, if you go to a temple, you're automatically a higher grade than a folk Taoist. And if you're a folk Taoist, you can only achieve a certain level of grade among the masters, no matter how good you are. This guy happened to be basically the highest of folk level, but he was still like 3 grades down below the top level guys. But in his area, he was the man. And he was the guy, and it's important because that means he gets to do all the exorcisms, all the marriages, all the hauntings, all that stuff. And so there was a scene where he's sitting around. Of course, Master Zhuang is a drunk, and so he's watching him. He's over there drinking, and Michael's hanging out with him. And then suddenly, someone bursts in and says that one of his rivals is busy doing magic across town. So he jumps up, grabs his raincoat, and bursts out the door, right? And then they're sitting around waiting for him to come back because he didn't invite Mike to go with him because it's matter. Suddenly, this guy bursts in, and he looks like he's been fried, and he says, "Tell the master I will never do it again." And apparently, he'd been casting some form of magic in order to make himself more powerful and like make his neighbor suffer. So it's like basically black magic. And so this guy like came by and apologized. Then Taoist Master Zhuang later returned with like a bottle of sake or whiskey or something. I can't remember what it was. And he's there to celebrate. And he gets himself drunk because he's super happy that he fried his rival because now he's ensured that he has nobody as a competitor in the market for the next however many years. It's a pretty funny like anecdote. Like so he's both higher level, but he's also just another drunk, like just another normal dude, just like any of us who'd be celebrating because we were better at something than the person that we despise. It was pretty funny, and so Michael lived with him and witnessed these things. And being American, he was the first one to witness it. And at first, he didn't want to show Michael anything, but then he changed it on account of the master's son had no interest at all because this was the modern world. He had no interest at all in Taoist magic, and Michael was the only one in his life that cared. And so, he was an alcoholic, and so how alcoholism drives family away, but they stay together because they're a better culture in that way. And so, like everybody else gets sick of him yelling at them and all this stuff, but Michael puts up with it, and because he wants to learn what all this stuff is about. It's a fascinating book, Taoist Master Zhuang by Michael Sassow. Anyways, there are many of these kinds of Taoist texts that go over. There's a whole text on the thunder magic, and I will tell people that one thing that the Taoist a friend of mine, who I won't reveal his name, but he is both a writer and a much higher grade practitioner than I am, and can understand the plasmaglyphics in a much more cultural way because of the way he grew up, and his background family is not only Chinese, but he has also the Sami people, so he can draw on 3,000 years. So that's what I mean by multiple lifetimes of development. However, he did tell me that at the end of the training, when you go to become a Taoist thunder magician, you actually go out in a thunderstorm and you attract the charge to the top of your head. That it's part of the thing. So it's something that's not in Florence Writer's text. Florence Writer's text tells you the rituals, but that leaves out that part, which is that you need to absorb the thunder god.
I've done that 2 or 3 times now.
Have you? Yeah.
Yeah. That's really, really, really dangerous and trusting.
But if you gain the authority over the armies of the demigods, then apparently you can call on Gong and the various thunder gods, and you can send forth armies to defeat evil. And I've stayed away from that in this lifetime. I mean, I know it was something in the past life, and I had access, but I've decided to stick with the scientific method paradigm and all the things that we've done, and to stick with trusting in the Lord as my savior, and that He'll, because in the end, that kind of power, it can corrupt one. And there is somebody famous, and his name starts with a J and an A and another J, who has very expensive books that are out. They're authorized books. And when I talked to Michael Sassow about this person, he told me the guy had absolutely fallen to the dark side. And when you look at the books, there's a lot of hints of some black magic and such. So you have to be careful, because this guy had been many years a Bagua master practitioner. Everybody was well known, very well respected in the world. And now his name is mud because he was getting the Taoist, the celestial masters drunk and stealing secret texts from them, and other unsavory things. Plus, he was charging massive amounts of money for the knowledge that he had gained the way he had gained it. So ego had played a huge part. So sin doesn't just go away because you get charged. Karma doesn't just go away because you have sin, because you clear sin. Neither does sin. Does fixing your karma eliminate your relationship with sin? All these things are important studies. I cover it in the Threefold Science paper. That's enough preaching. I will say, if people do get interested in the yellow path and the Taoist and Confucian and other related Oriental subtext, the Earthen Path. It's worth diving in and don't just read the Art of War and the Tao Te Ching and be like, okay, I got it. That's not going to work, because the Tao Te Ching is a mystery text. It doesn't have very many answers at all, if it has any answers. And the Art of War is not something that people are going to understand from one reading. It's not even something you're going to understand from 5 readings. It takes a long, long time for it to seek in. There's a whole lot of cultural aspect to it. So, whether you're studying Qi or studying Shi or studying Tao or De, there's a certain amount of investment of the self that has to be involved. And that's only going to happen if the person connects to it emotionally, in my opinion.
I like when you mentioned the Do, and that's in the Do, and that's like that happened to me. It was an event where I felt my heart chakra in my chest, and I can expand it at will, and my eyes dilate when I do it, and I can do it at any time.
Nice.
So this happened to me. So I called it the heart chakra, and like when I drive and I do it, I can feel this huge disc come out from my heart and like comb the surface of like a mile radius, and I can make it go further if I want, but it takes a lot of energy, and I can wrap it around the Earth and around the solar system. But yeah, that's that weird, like what the duh or whatever you called it, the whatever it's called. It's weird because that's in my last name, Doherty, Duh. I don't know.
All right, so the duh is an ancient plasma glyph. It's interesting because if you go back far enough, it actually is a phallic symbol that shows the plasma stream that had been bending because of the Earth's presence, but it was the connection between Venus and Mars, so it looked like a phallic symbol. But the later meaning was like the eyes, the ability to look at something very straight, and it means inner power. And the Neya, which is older than the Tao Te Ching, says that it comes from putting the chi in the chest. And you see Jesus constantly talking about, cleansing out the temple and taking care of the body. And so we call the heart chakra, we also call it the Christ chakra or the Krishna chakra. Now, in Chinese sciences, it's the middle Dan Tian. And Tian means field, and Dan means elixir pill. And so, the field is also itself a plasma glyph that if you look back at the origin of the word for field in Chinese, it actually is also another sun glyph. It's a hexagon. So it means that they understood back in the day that your heart and your third eye and the dantian, the lower one below the belly button, could connect directly to the star, which means that they knew about charge without necessarily calling it charge. So it's very important, for us to admit that there is this mytho-historical connection. People tell me, well, I can't prove or disprove God. And I go, what are you talking about? You can prove God like 5 or 6 different ways. Just depends on the tack you want to take. It's not really that difficult to even do. But the thing that people are missing is that connection. They're not understanding that they're fundamentally connected to everything because they've not been told that everything's electrical. I mean, it's also magnetic, but the magnetism is lagging behind the electricity. It's a physical representation. If people want to have faith, just go, look at your magnet. Something interesting is going on there, right? Superconductivity is super magical. Cymatics and is super magical. But I think that people they in some ways they want to be bamboozled a little bit. They want to be lied to, which is unfortunate. I think it's unfortunate, and that might be judgmental of me, but I think it's at least misfortunate. I think that they suffer the more that they allow themselves to be lied to.
Well, it's not that we allow ourselves to be lied to necessarily, as much as it's we're sick of the narrative. We want to create a new narrative and listen to whatever our itching ears want to hear. And
I was arguing with Flatbush last night.
Our itchy ears are thirsty to be scratched, you know.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. So this guy was demanding that I prove to him that the Earth is round. So I was, I was laughing. Yeah, I was being a little mean, but it was also making me laugh because it was so ridiculous. Because you post like a video of a flat earther debunking himself and having a realization that he misunderstood things. That he did a scientific experiment. He called it a psyop. So then I turned around and I just said, okay, you want proof? Give me your best flat Earth map. He refused to do it. He would not give me his best flat Earth map because as soon as I do that, he knows that he's in trouble, right? And so but the thing is, he wants attention and he wants to be lied to. Or I feel like he wants to be lied to. But it's a dangerous time that we live in, where people are willing to invest themselves in dark universes because there is a payout, there's a reward, there's a literal reward, there's a financial incentive. I decided to include the words of that Nobel laureate in the paradigm paper because I thought it was the right time to show like, hey, these people are dangerous. Like they're telling you that space-time is flat, but it's four-dimensional, and Earth is also two-dimensional. If they have beliefs like that, they're not that far away from believing that the Earth that everything around revolves around the Earth, and that they should be at the cult of power. I mean, they're only a couple feet away.
Simulation theory is what they want us to believe,
yes.
And the majority is they. Because in simulation theory and simulation hypothesis, you can lie and have anybody believe any amount of reality, even that we're already polluted with microbots, and they're controlling our thoughts, and we don't have our thoughts have us. But that's how the universe works. Unfortunately, the universe does work in that manner and that capacity where I believe that we don't have our thoughts have us, and it's a
they're transceiving.
But it's a transceiving. It's a receiving and a transmission.
But you're part and parcel. You are an individual, but you're also not an individual. Then it's a polar relationship.
Well, they want us to believe that we need to control our population, and women are believing this. Ever since the Matrix, we've been introduced to this misanthropist society, which is completely human-hating society. It was actually Agent Smith, that simple little part in that movie of Agent Smith explaining how humans are a virus is more impactfully dangerous to us than we will ever admit or know.
No, I agree. And that's a sentiment that is shared a lot. How many times have we seen people say Thanos was right? And of course, Thanos wasn't right. Right? What is Thanos snap did that doesn't even make logical sense. But you hear people say this because they're upset they're despondent. And despondence is a temporary state, but people, no matter what era we're in, because of dukkha and maya, they continue to believe that the current moment is the forever moment, and that forever moment means you have to take drastic action. Well, not necessarily. Now, I may choose to. Certainly in a self-defense situation, I encourage the person to take a drastic actions in order to save their life. However, that doesn't mean that every situation you have to react, emotionally to the stimulus. Right, the moment will change. The situation will rotate. The vibrations will alter. The phase frequencies will phase shift, and then things will be different.
If you want to be bothered, go ahead and tell the internet what bothers you. Talk about what bothers you all day long, and you will be bombarded by what bothers you. If you talk about what you hate is more lucrative than what you like, because they can use it as a weapon against you. So this is all, every word is recorded. So everything that we say, and it's almost instantaneous now. The second you think about it or you say it, it shows up as an advertisement. But what about all the bad stuff that we talk about and say? Never shows up as an advertisement, because all that information, that blacklisted information, goes into another folder that probably keeps you addicted, or you know, like for example, I'll tell you, targeted advertisement constantly hits me up with this ad, this autistic ad, this ad about autism, or it's either autism or what is it? It's
Asperger's.
No, it's not. It's not autistic or Asperger's. It's like bipolar or something dumb. It's not that either. But it's nonetheless, it's this ad, and it keeps playing like, oh, no one ever told me that I could have a job with autism, but I work through autism and blah blah blah. And it's like this ad constantly hits me nonstop. So it's like, are they trying to tell me that I'm autistic, or why is this targeted advertisement? So I know for a fact that people that need help, they get nonstop targeted advertisements to make them depressed, that make them seek, that tell them that they're sick and makes them even sicker.
That's right. To define them, define who they are, and control what they can be. It's all positionalism. Again, it goes right back to the sure. If I'm able to control how you see yourself, what language you use about yourself, all that information, then I am in control of your person de facto. That's just the way to do it. And it's really misfortunate that so many people are willing to participate in that.
It's so weird that that all of us, every person that I see that's out and about that has a cell phone, they all have mental issues. Everybody has mental issues, and it's like, where did people go? What did we used to be like in the 90s? Like meet up at the roller skating rink, or even at a club, and like hang out and stuff. Now it's just like nobody dances together at any of these clubs. They all have their own circle where they dance. Nobody touches each other. They're all just on their drug of choice, on their phone.
If you say a sentence longer than 10 words, they think you're an absolute weirdo. They don't want to talk to you. It's like their eyes raise if you if you can string it for more than 5 words together. Conversation.
Yeah, they're losing their humanity, and they're not realizing the past. When I coach the basketball, not to brag or anything, but the kids go. I've even had parents come up. They're like, "Wow, you weren't that animated," and I have. After the kids, I have the most energy on the floor, and that energy projects all over. I am marshaling the energies of the game on the floor. And I'm nothing special. It just means, that I am connecting. And it's weird. There's this dead feeling among the people that are there, as if they've checked out. And I'm like, it's your kids. Like, where is your excitement? And as the seasons progressed, they started to become more alive again. Yeah. And they started to cheer. Now you hear them cheering. And then I hear even some of them cheering for my son. And I go, wow, what a difference it makes to have a few games where you win. And like some of these people, they've stopped being so miserable looking. I had one guy pulled both of his kids out. He pulled the son off of my team, and he pulled his daughter off of hers, as if anybody had done. And he just looked so angry and miserable. And I just thought, wow, I feel so bad for those kids. It's just really brutal. And then I had another kid who had quit, but not because of me. He had a previous coach who had told him that he was terrible, right, at basketball. So now he was afraid that he would be told he was no good at something. It stuck with him for years. And it's just like, why is it that people do not understand some of these basic things about, like nature, about existence? And it has to go back to the education agenda and the poison agenda. And then, so now here's the question to pose. Do you guys, and what credence do you give to the theory that these deep underground military bases are, related to either aliens or alien civilizations, or people trying to, consume us literally? I can't speak to it because I have children around me, but like bringing them down there. Now, me, I'm agnostic on it, right? So I'm just going to go through and catalog them that they're there. But there are people that are really asserting this is an issue, like a serious thing, that and that there were even two presidential peace treaties with these supposed aliens. So I wonder, what do you guys think of this as a hypothesis for dealing with why things are so wacky versus, say, using changes in the solar electric circuit and planetary electric circuit? Where do you come down on all that?
Honestly, go ahead, Nick.
Sorry. Well, if I may, right. Well, as far as aliens go, I think I don't think there's anything, anyone flying from outer space that's coming visiting us in a spaceship. I think the most alien things that we've probably got on the planet are those that have been made in the lab by humans.
Amen. I agree fully with you 100%.
Yeah. And so what's happening in some of these deep underground bunkers, there's probably some pretty bad programs going on that even the CIA have forgotten about, or they've gone so deep underground, in the black economy and all the rest of it, that they're off the radar now. And so there'll be all these sort of things happening, certainly, but I think the control system it's a culmination of a plan that's been going on probably since the 70s, I would think, by this group of people who have at the moment, probably that World Economic Forum, them sort of people, it's a gang that seems to have control of every institution now, just about.
Okay. May I say a few? Sorry to interrupt.
No, go on.
Okay, so this idea was first introduced to me through David Icke.
Yeah.
When I was really young, my dad had a book on the shelf. My dad's a fairly intellectual individual for sure, and he had one of his books a long time ago. I forget the name of it. I still have the book, I think, but it was introduced to me that there was like reptilian people that live underground, and I just rolled my eyes and then definitely took everything that I heard from David Icke with a grain of salt from then on. And I feel like he's just he's either controlled opposition or something's going on weird with him. I don't really know what's going on weird with him in general. So I heard about it then. Then I've been thinking about it a lot more. Then I just watched the movie The Island last night. Or either last night or the night before. And The Island is really, really crazy movie. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet, where they have clones underground. This is where I think it would be the most likely, where they have our clones.
Yeah, this was one of the good Michael Bay movies.
Yeah, and it was really good concept, and it was kind of similar to Shutter Island in a way, but the island, the premise was there are surrogates, or the whole idea is you can pay about $5 million. If anybody who has $5 million can pay to extend their life, and have basically a clone that they claim has no soul, and they live underground, and they're inside, right. They're in vitro the whole time. They're inside of a
and they're trying to win the lottery, which winning the lottery means that they lose their organs. And if they win the lottery, they're supposed to go to the island.
Yeah. So they want to. They're all told this lie that if they win the lottery, they're gonna survive and be out in the free world. But instead, it's actually death.
Yeah, it's sort of like the movie THX 1138 meets Logan's Run. And so Logan's Run, this is primarily it's the Logan's Run plot, and then it's a little bit of THX. And Logan's Run is a little bit Soylent Green in that on top of Logan finding out that the the recycling event doesn't bring you back to life, but actually just is straight up murder. He also finds out that all the runners that escaped, that they weren't able to kill because he's a killer of runners. When he becomes a runner, he makes it further than anyone, and he finds out that the machine that's supposed to be feeding them fresh fish ran out of fish a long time ago after the apocalypse, and so it's just been freezing people to turn them into food. And so there's this seriously, like, considering the film style is rather clean and 60s ish. It's extremely dark, which Soylent Green does a much better job of, like, really depicting the dystopia. And then, of course, what's neat about In the Island, and then THX 1138, they just basically get out. You don't really see much. Logan's Run, there's just a significant period of time that they spend outside the dome and learn about old people and cats and things that they didn't know anything about. So it's a fascinating. If people haven't seen it, it's definitely one that I've watched more than once. Soylent Green's hard to watch more than once, especially when you know that the old man at the end, that was his actual last scene that he ever filmed. It's very, very moving. It's even more moving when you realize that essentially it was like him really passing away. Not literally on screen, obviously, but it was his last role. And then these ideas, these are, you wonder, are they telling us about things that they know about because they're celebrities? In fact, the patient who put me onto the DUMS, he was also telling me that there's something in LA, which I had heard briefly about, something called the Cannibal House or something like that. And, so are they doing that, or are they generating?
Well, there's also something in LA called Soylent Green, and it's a liquid. It's a liquid that people drink, and I think it's like stem cells of humans grown with stem cells. It's people!
Yeah. Nasty.
There's weird legalities. In America, it's legal. Cannibalism's still legal, and it's been legal. It's never been illegal. Same with Canada and many other countries. And the proper way to eat human, as if I do say, well, both parties have to agree on it, apparently. And I learned all this from Vsauce. Michael Stevens here with Vsauce. And there was an episode called "What Does Human Taste Like?"
Thanks.
And in the episode, apparently, if both parties agree on part of their body that they want to eat, and they can share it or give each other, like, part of their muscle out of one part, or they could just feast on one together. All of these ideas.
This is how prions keep going. Yeah, it's nasty.
Yeah,
nasty.
I wouldn't suggest any of this ever.
No, it's evil.
But just saying, it is legal, so I think that's how they get away with these, like,
stem cell stuff. Yeah, they want to make hamburger and stuff out of your own. They want you to grow your own stem cells and eat yourself. Have you seen this?
Yeah, that's legal. And right now, you can eat celebrities' stem cells, grown patties of Sean Connery's leg. Britney Spears' baby. You can eat Britney Spears' baby, but it's in a burger form. Like, what
that's
the
horrible.
fuck?
See, this is where it's going absolutely crackers, isn't it? I mean, I must admit, I heard what they use to carry the vaccine into people is pretty nasty, and I hate all this kind of thing. Really, it's kind of a real pollution. Well, I think we've got everything we need, really, and naturally is around us, and these absolute sicko Dr. Morrows conjuring up these horrible bloody viral infestation medicines, what they're producing. It's just It's just black magic from start to finish.
It
We
is
don't seem to
exactly
cure anyone
all it
else.
is. Black magic.
Ramon, if and when someone gives you an earned doctorate's degree, you or me, please refuse it. We don't need to be called doctors, dude. That's who are the people that always end up the bad on the wrong side.
It's become an insult to the word, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's become
Trust me, I'm a doctor.
yeah. White coat, black magic nonsense. You know, it's a complete perversion of the white path itself. Which of course we know how that happened. It started with the burning of all the Druidic stuff, and it just continued. Well, it didn't only start there. I mean, there was the destruction of Gnostic Christians and everything because of the Council of Nicaea. But the white path has always been difficult to follow. But it's sort of like Hitler flipping the swastika around. You know, for people who practice black magic so openly, to put on this white coat, and then that means they're pure. But really, what were they doing? They were lobotomizing people. They were electroshocking women. They were sticking dirty probes into Abraham Lincoln's head. They were sawing off legs and using leeches. I mean, these people, you know, that's the basis of their so-called medical science. It's
a lot of it worked.
Well, some of it worked. I mean, but the barbarism. You know, if you have a heart attack and I freeze you for a little bit, you know, I might stop you from having apoptosis. But how is that really medicine? I mean, that's just, you know, that's just
leeches and things like that, and maggots.
Yeah, sometimes leechcraft works, but you know, it's not something that's common in Chinese medicine because blood is a precious substance. You know, so you don't really. It's not like, you know, we never would advocate adding a tapeworm to something. Never. That would not happen in Chinese medicine. It's just, I mean, you might see it in folk, but again, a lot of the folk medicine in China is basically black magic, but they're open about it. You know, they don't have the judgment. They don't have the moral judgment about that. That's one of the famous things about Maoshan Temple. One of the famous 7 Taoist temples is a black magic temple called Maoshan. What do I think about what?
Madame Blavatsky, she's a light or dark?
Don't know her. Don't know her, to be honest with you. Don't know.
You haven't studied Madame Blavatsky?
No.
Wow.
Nope.
Yeah.
Outside of the EU, I stick mostly to the Oriental stuff.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Madame Blavatsky started, or was instrumental in starting the Theosophical Society. Theosophy is the merging of no truth, no religion higher than truth.
Right.
Branched out into many other different sections. Rudolf Steiner. Apparently, Ford had her book. This was pre-World War II. Spiritism pre-World War II, and
well, I mean, that all sounds okay, but did she have Jesus? I'm just curious.
She basically inverted. They looked at Albert Pike's work, and she inverted the light and the dark. So made Lucifer the light bearer, and they did Lucifer's Trust, and it was all about the light, trying to be the light. But in and of itself, that created Luciferians and Lucius Trust, and moved all of us towards the age that we are in. So
yeah, so she was in the origins of the Enlightenment. Is what you're saying? Was she previous to 1927 or after it?
Yes, she was during the Enlightenment, and she would fake.
So she was there to kill the Enlightenment. Okay.
She would fake like this plasma stuff would come out of her mouth. Like she would talk with spirits and do all these different seances and things like that. Yeah. And she was like ousted 2 or 3 times as a fake, but that didn't stop her career or her charisma. Hitler, Ford, a bunch of people. I mean, you want to talk about light, dark magic turned light, magic turned dark. Like that's where it's the merging of all religions into one. That was Theosophy. And
Yeah, well, there you go. So, these people are dangerous. They pervert the signs. The signs, of course, were given to us by God. I mean, they were the plasmaglyphics in the sky for a reason. The force was with us, and the force will be at the end of us too. And there's no escaping that. In fact, the alpha symbol is in the. I was just talking about this with the last show with Greg last night. The alpha symbol is with the thunderbolt in the word that means halberd, and it also is gu, and it also means oneself, and oneself means the God, right? The God he is himself. So the alpha is there, and of course the omega is just the upside down symbol of duh, right? Duh is a phallic down, whereas the omega is the phallic up. But it just depends on which side of Venus and Mars we're on, right? They're the ones having the conjunction, and they're moving around, and the plasma's flipping up and down. So that's the symbol, but that's a temporary end. There is no actual end. However, the thunderbolt, the force, the plasma electromagnetism, is itself sometimes depicted as the embodiment of the Lord. Obviously, once upon a time, the planet Jupiter was, and before that, the star was, and then before that was the star. But the symbology is real in that it is concrete. It's something that we can draw upon. Whereas what she's doing is perverting it, just like Hitler would, and making it unreal. And if you unmake it, it becomes an anti-mems, right? It goes from a mems to an anti-mems. And when it becomes an anti-mems, it destroys life. Now, why anybody would want to participate in that and like join the cult of Crowley, I have no idea. I don't understand it. But then again, I also don't understand war profiteering. Like I don't understand the entire military-industrial complex and war economy. It's very self-obvious when you look at World War One that it doesn't benefit. Yeah, okay, somebody's making money, but overall, the entire method is really bad for as far as creating an economy. So I don't really get why people want to do it. I think it's really stupid. But that's just my
Crowley was the Antichrist. Anything anti-Christian, Antichrist. Who is the Antichrist? Anyone who is against Christ. So I mean, that was a big movement to go against the parents that talk about taking down the statues again and putting up new statues. Like views change and morals change, and what one person does is good in his day is going to be bad in the next day. We are in the complete 100% inversion of what is good will be bad and what is bad will be good. We are 100% the very beginning.
That's why I call it the age of the unlaw, right? And in Buddhism, they talk about the end of the former, middle, and latter days of the law. And then at that time, we're basically, according to Buddhism, left to our own, like the Maitreya. So it depends on, I guess, your point of view. Depends on your point of view.
It's going to be a good time for marauders and lawless people who are lawless. Good
Correct.
time. They've been making those purge movies to get us all. They did the purge election day, and look what came out of the fucking election day. The election was that whole lie that they spun, that we tried to overthrow the Capitol.
Right.
Were you there? Did you go to that? I didn't go.
No,
I was busy with life.
I'm a way smarter patriot than that.
Yeah, me too. I was not. I wasn't going to get caught dead walking into an FBI, trap. But
yeah. Fuck all that.
Yeah. No, I agree.
My dad was. He used to be in the Michigan militia, and that was the last resistance of the United States. The last resistance of the United States was the Michigan militia in 1995. And my dad was lieutenant colonel of the 53rd Brigade, and he had a full frontal photo on New York Times. He was a full frontal with his whole squad, and he stepped down from all that. It started making him go crazy because they invented the terror alert. Actually, the Michigan militia, where the terrorist alert came from, was the Michigan militia. they had a flag system, and there was red flag, high operation, high alert. There was orange flag, you know, and they called it flags. But the United States government had to dismantle and destroy the last resistance. Of course, you know, they got to destroy the last resistance, and that happened to be the Michigan militia. So they chose a few different ways to do that, and one of them was the Oklahoma City bombing. And this was my childhood growing up, and this was, you know, my dad knew he knew the guy, not Timothy McVeigh, but Nicholas McVeigh, I think. Bailey. He had no idea of any of the plans or anything. That was a whole up north different brigade. But yeah, the government knew about it. The government was in on it, and the government. What happened is there was multiple bombs at Oklahoma City bombing, and there was also multiple suspects, and John Doe number 2 just disappeared into history. So
people should look into the McVeigh thing. Like, the evidence is obviously he was involved, but at the same time,
McVeigh is incredible. What an incredible person, seriously. I mean, like, I don't speak highly of terrorists, but like, you study that guy's life, really crazy American that we trained.
And then the thing is, like, the bomb was definitely multiple there's no way a single truck did all that. I don't know how to explain it better to people. It's just the whole thing was one of the, I guess it's basically the first major false flag that we had.
Nope. Ruby Ridge was the first one.
Okay, all right. You could use. You know, with the Ruby Ridge, there was a lot of ego involved, and so I don't know how good a false flag you can involve when there's really a whole lot. I mean, you could also say Branch Davidian or something like that, but when you talk about a serious operation, you know, before 9/11, Oklahoma City bombing for sure.
Yeah, it was, and each one is for its purpose. They had to take out the Michigan militia. Now the Michigan militia trains around me constantly. I see them in the fucking woods all the time. I'm like talking to them. They're like, "Oh, you want to join? Blah blah blah. We're the Michigan militia." And I'm like talking to them all, and they're like, "I'm like, yeah. So, what's your guys' affiliation with the local police and the local task force and things like that?" Completely 100% united with everything. So they're no longer broken away an individual. They're united with the government.
Yeah, and that's which defeats the purpose. One of the three main purposes of having a militia.
Yeah,
of course, mutual defense is the main purpose, but you know, it's just really sad to see so many people like fail their civics class and to you know, in real life here, and not understand, you know, that this stuff is all like real. And look at all these nukes. Are you guys seeing the screen?
I'm seeing it.
Look at how these nukes are laid out, and just like look at like around Michigan. Look at this. This is absolutely nuts. Like, unbelievable.
They're just gonna tell us that. Oh, look, that spells Google. Scroll up. Look right there. Google. Google.
That's
Screenshot that, Google.
Yeah, it becomes their cover. They're all proud. Oh, that's
they're like, I don't
care.
They're like, I don't care what it looks like. Just make it look like it's randomly dispersed. Okay.
Look at gee, I wonder if maybe there is some kind of issue with you know, the Russian side of things and the Western side of things. I wonder what that could be.
What's that? Wait, where is that?
Oh, this is Germany's West Germany's full of our nukes. You know.
Why? Why?
Well, I mean, the Warsaw Pact was all the way over here, but East Germany went all the way through, I think, Hanover. I can't recall exactly where, but you can basically see where the line was. And so the installations were put in there. Now, this is just ours. Obviously, the Europeans have their own installations all throughout NATO. But, you know, there's a reason why they didn't want NATO, getting Ukraine. There would have been missile silos installed all along this border. Russia wasn't going to put up with that. And if people don't understand this basic part and the economics part, they're really misunderstanding the whole thing. Obviously, it doesn't change the fact that Putin's a thug, but he's reacting to statements made by the administration. I mean, it's as straight as can be. And this is the problem with this is why in the Art of War it says there have been no instance in all of history, and that was written, of course, 2,600 years ago, in all of history of a nation that loved war surviving. That's what Sun Tzu said. So we're in trouble. We love war way too much. Of course, here's the entire empire so far. I haven't even finished. Okay, guys, this is like just a little bit of the Coast Guard bases and stuff. I got to go in. I got to add all the Coast Guard. I got to add the American embassies. I got to add all the black sites, NSA sites, all this stuff. But I mean, just even looking at this is the cost of running something like this is unreal. And where's that coming from? It has to come from GDP. Where's GDP coming from? Us and Mother Nature. Period. That's where the essence for running this behemoth comes from.
Look,
it comes from us, and it comes from us and Mother Nature.
So I just looked up the word. I tried to look up the word for someone who loves war.
Oh yeah.
And the first word that came up is belligerent.
Yeah.
If someone is belligerent, they're eager to fight.
Yeah.
Usually we attach belligerent to someone who's drunk and necessarily not fighting.
What's interesting is when you get the chi in the chest, you do get the spiritualism, but you do become a bit bellicose because you're ready to fight. But the difference is spiritually, you don't want to fight. That's the difference between like us who do Kung Fu and Tai Chi and stuff, and then like what I call the diesel heads out of MMA, right? They train, they learn all this deadly stuff, and then they go around and they actually pick fights. It takes a long time for them to transform. And then, you get the 10, 20-year-old senseis, 20 years in, senseis, and they're not like that. But a lot of the guys, they've only done it a few years, and they go out and they get into these fights, and I call them diesel heads. It's very important, the spiritual change inside the chest.
There's underground fighting too.
Oh yeah.
I just watched a movie on that. What was it called? It's actually pretty good. Well, it wasn't about that, but it had that in it.
I weep that my children have to inherit this. This is just this is unrealistic. I mean, it's just what are we doing as a species? And are we pointing these nukes at space where the daggone weapons of the gods really come from? No, we're pointing them at each other. This is absolutely insane. And I'm sure these aren't all the nuke sites. These are just the ones that were in that one database.
Enjoy being the freest, richest country in the world.
Yeah,
think of how much money we just printed. That money is in people's pockets, and have fun trying to get that money out of people's pockets this next couple of years, because people are going to be hungry.
Yeah, it's just foolish. The entire this entire way of approaching the world it's anti-mimsical. It's 100% anti-mimsical. You know what I understand is the previous database that I found that had the world bases. I got to look it up because I know we've got military bases in the South Pacific. So that database was clearly missing some data, some information. I know we've got installations down there.
And every one of those bases is pretty much grounds for a psyop. If not multiple psyops.
And they don't even help each other, right? They're also rivals with each other for budget, for they have their own secret space programs. There's a secret space program over here. It's because it's all compartmentalized. It's a natural thing of what happens with compartmentalization. There's going to be redundancy. Who knows how many times free energy has been researched and how many times it's even been discovered in one of these facilities.
There's fake cities. There's always been fake cities. There's been fake cities during wars, and we find out about them decades later. How many fake cities are there right now? How many smart cities? And there's another word for, I forget the name of the city, but there's a bunch of different names of cities that meet different guidelines for certain things. that'd be interesting to have a talk about that and show those cities and what's different about those cities as opposed to other cities, because some of them might have more 5G, some of them might be more dialed into the grid, some of them might be a completely underground experiment, like the city that Alex Jones talks about in Sandy Hook. If you study that city, really, really strange coincidences and different things happened one after another. Like one of them is the houses were all bought the day on Christmas Day, all paid for and given to all these families with kids for no reason. All the houses were bought on Christmas Day. I mean, what bank is open and what kind of a situation is that? And all of those houses that had those kids, a lot of them had kids that went to the schools there. So I'm not going to poke and pry at that anymore, but you know, that's a sitting beast. How many fake cities are there out there, and what are the points of these fake cities?
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't know how even, you know, you would do that research reliably, to be honest with you, because here I'm going to be able to find, I'm going to be able to find what they'll publish, but how many black sites won't be published about, you know what I mean?
I can tell you about one right now that started in the 50s, and I think maybe even before that, in a really strange city that I almost had, I almost got abducted with my kid and my friend and her kid. There was a really strange circumstance that happened inside of this city, and that whole city, come to find out, there was MK Ultra experiments in that same city back in the 50s. So these experiments that they say aren't going on anymore, how many of these horrible movies have come out about MK Ultra, and we can't get enough of it? It's like we want to learn how to do MK Ultra so we can do it to our children or something. Like, what are they advertising here? What is it? Do we want to do it to ourselves and our loved ones? Like,
oh yeah.
Why is it constantly being pushed? Like, they stopped Black Mirror. No more episodes of Black Mirror because we lived through that shit for 2.5 years. That was one of the best-selling shows. Why'd they stop that? You know, because it touches home too much, because it's real, because we realized, oh wait, we don't want to tell them everything we're doing in this show, do we? Oh yeah, we do.
Yeah, I haven't even seen Black Mirror. I'm horrified to watch something and it either influence my thinking or, you know, more horrify me from what I already know.
Yeah.
Doing the research paper is going to be, I'm going to wait till it's, you know, darker out with the energies and all that, but it's going to be very intense, I'm sure, to have to do. What happened to the previous paper? Is this a rewrite? Yeah. Okay. Okay. You need to work on your handwriting. Why don't you do some of your ABC? Okay. Or eat lunch if you haven't. But you know, I don't know what to say. I know that God's got it in his hands, but we have to take action ourselves. And so, you know, the big question is, like, what can be done about such a thing? And I don't honestly know. I don't honestly know. You know, I just don't know what we'll be capable of actually doing for helping ourselves. You know what I mean?
Helping ourselves in what capacity? Towards what?
Clearing the mind, improving the situation for ourselves, our progeny, etc. It seems like every step we take, we're just making it worse.
Well, that's because we're a society that is told that the power is in the now, not in the eternal. And whereas we used to live in a society where grandma was looked at as a goddess, and what grandma says goes. Oh, grandma has final word because grandma's been here the longest. Grandma knows the most. Grandma has wisdom. Grandma earned her place in the dinner table. Grandma made that fucking dinner table, and grandpa, you know. And now we just live in a society where it's just like, who knows who made this? Who cares who made this? This table's a piece of shit because My
Right.
my iPhone's 3 times more than the cost of this this table, and I get a new one every 6 months.
Yeah.
You know, where's the care for anything? It's the constant degradation. You can see it in the furniture. You can see it. I live in Michigan, so we have one of the largest furniture makers ever in the United States here. That was out of Grand Rapids. So I get a lot of free antique, old, really nice furniture because people don't want to resurface it. People don't want to pay to resurface something. And it's really pretty easy to restore a lot of things, a lot of dressers and things. So I just go around and I get them for free, and people go around and buy IKEA and particle board for $600 for a side table at IKEA,
Junk.
or $700 for junk at Big Lots for a tiny 2-piece side table. $350 a piece for junk. Like, meanwhile, I'm selling this old original. Nobody likes wood anymore. The look of wood, the energy of wood, the smell of wood. There used to be a type of character that comes with a house that has leather-bound books and solid wood everything. Now I'm a painter by trade. One of the things I do, and everybody's covering up their wood. Everything is solid wood doors. They pay extra money for solid wood doors. Then they bring these beautiful doors in, and then we paint them white. Stupid.
It's on a single line for both big letters and small. Well, fellas, I'm going to wrap up this show, and it's been a really good one. I got to do the lunch thing and crack on with other things. I will keep everybody involved or in the know about progress of this Black Pill project, this map. We had a really deep conversation. I'm gonna have to think about what the title of this daggone episode. But I wish you guys a really good weekend, a blessed weekend, and maybe we'll find some engineering solutions for people to help them. But in the short, everybody do Tai Chi and Qigong. That's our best solution that we have.
That's the one. Cheers, guys.
All right.
See you soon.
Cheers, and buy ice cream. Buddy's all about that.
Oh yeah, get a hold of Space Kitchen Creamery on Facebook. Grandma